All right. Hey there, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight. Excited to share with you some things that are going to be happening here this next week. Don't think I'm going to go for a long time, and there's a good chance that this is maybe going to be the last video segment that we send out, although I'm not making any promises about that. I want to today actually mostly get into talking about when we are back together next week. And so I just have some practical things that I want to go over and talk about how we are going to be attempting meeting together. And I'm so excited about that, excited to get the chance to worship together, see some of you that I haven't seen in a long time. But there is some things to talk about with that. So we'll get to that. Before that, however, I did want to share just a little nugget today. Just something as we're looking at getting back and specifically getting back to worship together next week. I came across something that was just exciting to see and got me thinking. And we have been talking about now for a couple weeks family. And I've been trying to hold off because I really want us to be together as we kind of dive into this deeper. And so we are going to hopefully really dive into a lot of different aspects about family and family in the natural and our spiritual family mostly. But I guess what I wanted to hit on is that I think it would be easy to feel like our decision to be together and worship together kind of first is just a decision kind of made out of practicality. And that is part of it, but I think there's much more behind why that's so important for us in this season. And so last week I was sharing thoughts from the book of Ephesians, and I would really encourage those of you that want to and can to be reading that book. Start in the first chapter and just be reading through it, because I think we'll really spend some time there as we get talking about family. And as you're reading it, I want to encourage you to be looking for that aspect where Paul is talking about how because of what Jesus did, he has taken people that are scattered all over, all different ethnic groups, all different social groups. And part of the power of the gospel is that he's taken all these different people and called them to be a part of one family. And like I said last week, I believe that is an important truth for us to realize, a more important truth for us to walk in as the church, because that's what our world needs so desperately right now. When we are divided on so many different levels, maybe more than we ever have been in our history, I think God's got an answer for that. And it's not super complex. It's something that's been a part of his reality forever. And that is that this amazing new spiritual family that he's adopted all of us into. If you believe in Jesus, part of that amazing reality is that you have been adopted into his family now. So we are brothers and sisters with him. We are sons and daughters of God. And then we're called to actually walk out family together. And so, again, just be thinking about that, meditating on it, looking for that in Ephesians. But one of the exhortations that Paul has for us in Ephesians, and again, he's talking to these new believers that have come from other races and have come from, again, up until that point, it had only been Jewish people that got to take part in God's plan for the world. Now the whole world is getting to be invited into that. And so Paul's talking to all these people, and he's saying to them, actually, which I found amazing, that one of the things that they should be doing as this new family of God, one of the things that was going to mark them as the church, as the family, is that they were going to come together and sing together. And that maybe sounds silly, but I just want to read it. In Ephesians 5, Paul says this: And we will dive into this more in some coming week, I'm not sure. But Paul says, don't drink too much wine. That cheapens your life. Drink the Spirit of God, huge amounts of Him. Sing hymns instead of drinking songs. Sing songs from your heart to Christ. Sing praise over everything, any excuse for a song to God the Father in the name of our Master, Jesus Christ. And I guess that just struck me that apparently one of the ways that Paul says we grow as family together in the love of Christ is singing to Him together. So although it is practical for us to get together with worship kind of as the first thing that we do as a church, it's much deeper than just practicality driving this. And again, I think we are all experiencing the reality of this on some level. Definitely in the surveys that I was getting back, one of the things that people miss most about our normal church time together is being able to sing and worship God together. And again, part of that is because it's really easy to hear preaching nowadays. There's so many good material out there that you can listen to, and you can hear teaching about the gospel, and you can listen to amazing speakers about that. But one of the things you can't do alone is the same experience we have on a Sunday morning when we're together worshiping together. Again, you can worship by yourself. You can put on music and sing in your home, in your bedroom by yourself, and probably lots of you do that, or in the car. But I think we could all admit it's not the same experience as when we're all together worshiping. And I just wanted to point out and draw us to that as we're talking about that being the first thing we do together, that it's not just a small thing. It's actually something that Paul says weaves us together as family. Part of the reason, or actually, one of the reasons we worship is not because that's just the order that you have to do things. There's no rule that you come in the door, there's announcements, then there's worship, then there's preaching, then you get dismissed. That isn't it. We worship because there's something special in that when we do it together, it connects our hearts and it helps us realize the reality that we're actually family together. And again, so for those of you that are going to be here next Sunday and you're going to join us as we have our first time of worship together, please have that in your heart and your mind, that this is more than just singing songs. This is more than just being together for good music. This is actually part of what we do to be family together. So I love you. I'm excited for that. And now what I want to do is get into just kind of talking about some practical things for us as we do show up here next week. I'm so excited for that, but let's just be real. It's going to be different. We have not done this before. We haven't had church since March, and there's some new realities for all of us as we do try to meet. And so I just want to talk about those, go over them, so that you are prepared and kind of know what to expect if you show up here next week. And so the very first thing that I want to talk about is that I want our hearts to be that all of us that would be here would be doing all we can to care for and be considerate of everybody that's here. And again, I know when it comes to COVID and all the different responses, there's a lot of different opinions about what is necessary, what's not. There's a lot of different reactions to this, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong. I just think it's really important that when we do come together as family, that we realize we're probably all over the map on our feelings about it. And so if we all come here really trying to not just be here for us, but to be considerate of everybody, I think it's going to work out well. It's really going to be a chance for us to walk out caring for one another and not only being focused on what we feel. And so again, please have that be your heart as you show up here. The other thing that I want to say just right off the bat is that if you are not comfortable being here, please don't feel pressure to be here. If you just don't feel like you want to put yourself around other people quite yet, I want you to feel fine and free to do that. There will be no judgment from anybody here. We, of course, will miss you, but we will see you eventually. So we will all be back together eventually. If you're uncomfortable, don't feel pressure. If you're really worried about it, part of what I think is good about what we're going to do is that you can kind of just take some baby steps. And so if you're worried, maybe come a little bit late. Everybody will already be seated or in their places kind of worshiping, and you can leave a little bit early so you don't have to worry about people giving you a hug or whatever it would be that you might be worried about. So that's okay, right? It'll be fine for us to just figure this out kind of all together. I'm just kind of hitting some of the important things first. The other thing I want to say is being really important, and maybe this is obvious, but still I'm going to say it. If you or anyone in your family is sick in any way, feeling bad over the weekend, please stay home, rest. Don't risk being here. Don't risk getting other people sick. So just kind of take inventory of that. If you have kids, be checking in with them to make sure that they all feel good before you pack up the family and get here. And then lastly, kind of with this would be if you are going to be here, please let's not have anybody considering themselves the enforcer of what they think is proper. If you feel like you're just too stressed out and too worried about things, again, maybe that's a sign that you should wait a couple weeks before you show up. But if you're here, don't feel like it's your job to police people. We're going to believe that as family, we can all be considerate and caring of one another. And this will be a good test for us. And so if we can't do that, if that's too challenging and it's too hard to pull that off, then maybe we won't keep doing this. But I think we can handle it. So again, our heart is that this is a chance for us to be together, worship together, in a way that we have not been able to in a very long time.